Hello, friends. Good day to you. So, after many months, I am returning back to the Sutra of Hui-Neng, and from what I can tell, we left off on in the midst of Chapter 7, Temperament and Circumstances, and I'm going to just continue from there and see if we read some interesting stuff, which I expect. All right. Thereupon, Huswan Chuch remarked, to realize the essence of mind is to be free from rebirths. And once this problem is solved, the question of transiency no longer exists. That is so, the patriarch agreed. At this stage, Husan Chue gave in and made obeisance in full ceremony. After a short while, he bid the patriarch adieu. You are going away too quickly, aren't you? Asked the patriarch. How can there be quickness when motion intrinsically exists not? He retorted. That's interesting. How can there be quickness when motion intrinsically exists not? Who knows that motion exists not? Asked the patriarch. I hope you, sir, will not particularize, he observed. The patriarch commended him for his thorough grasp of the notion of birthlessness. But Swan Chu remarked, is there a motion? Is there a notion in birthlessness? Without a notion, who can particularize? Asked the patriarch in turn. That which particularizes is not a notion, replied Suan Cho. Well said, exclaimed the patriarch. He then asked Suan Chu to delay his departure and spend the night there. Henceforth, Suan Chu was known to his contemporaries as the enlightened one who had spent the night with the patriarch. Afterward, he wrote a famous work, a song on spiritual attainment, which circulates widely. His posthumous title is Grand Master Wu Xiang, he who is above form and phenomena, and he was also called by his contemporaries Dhyana Master Chen Chu, he who is really enlightened. Bhikshu Chi Huang, a follower of the Dhyana school, after his consultation with the fifth patriarch as to the progress of his work, considered himself as having attained samadhi. For 20 years, he confined himself in a small temple and kept up the position all the time. Huswan Sia I'm definitely not saying these names right. A disciple of the sixth patriarch on a meditation journey to the northern bank of Huangho, heard about him and called at his temple. "What are you doing here?" asked Husuan Su. I am abiding in samadhi," replied his friend Chi Huang. "Abiding in samadhi, did you say?" observed Swan Si Su. "I wish to know whether you are doing it consciously or unconsciously. For if you are doing it unconsciously, it would mean that it is possible for all inanimate objects, such as earthenware, stones, trees, and weeds, to attain samadhi. On the other hand, if you are doing it consciously, then all inanimate objects or sentient beings would be in samadhi also. When I am in samadhi," observed Chi Huang, "I know neither consciousness nor unconsciousness." "If that is the case," said Husuan Su, "it is perpetual samadhi, in which state there is neither abiding nor leaving. That state which you can abide in or leave off is not the great samadhi." Chi Huang was dumbfounded. After a long while, he asked, "May I know who is your teacher?" "My teacher is the sixth patriarch of Sao Ao Chi," replied Huswang. "How does he define dhyana and samadhi?" Chi Huang asked. "According to his teacher," replied Swanzi, "the Dharma Kaya is perfect and serene. Its quintessence and its function are in a state of thusness. The five skandhas are intrinsically void, and the six sense objects are non-existent. There is neither abiding nor leaving in samadhi. There is neither quietude nor perturbation. The nature of dhyana is non-abiding." So we should get above the state of abiding in the calmness of dhyana. The nature of dhyana is uncreative. So we should get above the notion of creating a state of dhyana. The state of the mind may be likened unto space, but it is infinite, and so it is without the limitation of the latter. Having heard this, Chi Huang went immediately to Ao Chi to interview the patriarch. Upon being asked whence he came, he told the patriarch in detail the conversation he had with Husuan Si. When Husuan said, "Is quite right," said the patriarch. "Let your mind be in a state such as that of the illimitable void, but do not attach it to the idea of vacuity. Let it function freely. Whether you are in activity or at rest, let your mind abide nowhere. Forget the discrimination between a sage and an ordinary man. Ignore the distinction of subject and object. Let the essence of mind and all phenomenal objects be in a state of thusness. Then you will be in samadhi all the time. Chi Huang was thereby fully enlightened. What he had considered for the past 20 years as an attainment now vanished. On that night, inhabitants of Hopi, the northern bank of the Yellow River, heard a voice in the air to the effect that Dhyana Master Chi Huang had on that day gained enlightenment. Sometime after, Chi Huang bid the patriarch adieu and returned to Hopi, where he taught a great number of men and women, monks as well as the laity. I'm going to take a brief pause right there to peel an orange and take a sip of water. Luncher Reads, it's a quick streaming form, and it kind of helps me to have some nice quality grounding time throughout my workday. And sometimes it's helpful for me to have a bit of a fast. That's what I've used it for in the past. But today I am not fasting. I have eaten a few times already, but this orange is nice and cold. And I like a nice cold orange on a nice warm day. And so I will get back to, I'll be able to read a little bit more. Take a few bites and then get back at it. Very interesting book. I'm kind of happy that I opened this up today because I've been seeing synchronicity quite a bit today, and this reading is kind of one of those taps on the shoulder. Yummy, yummy. Okay. So we're still on chapter 7. Oh, I think I could finish it. Got another page and 2 pages. A bhikshu once asked the patriarch what sort of man could obtain the keynote of the teaching of Huang Mei. He who understands the Buddha Dharma can get it, replied the patriarch. Have you, sir, gotten it then? Asked the bhikshu. I do not understand the Buddha Dharma, was his reply. One day the patriarch wanted to wash the robe he had inherited, but could find no good stream for the purpose. Thereupon he walked to a place about 5 miles from the rear of the monastery, where he noticed that plants and trees grew profusely and the environment gave an air of good omen. He shook his staff, which makes a tinkling noise, as rings are attached to the top of it. And when and stuck it in the ground. Immediately, water spurted out, and before long a pool was formed. While he was kneeling down on a rock to wash the robe, a bhikshu suddenly appeared before him and tendered him homage. "My name is Fang Pian, or Fang Pian," he said. "I am a native of Szechuan. When I was in South India, I met Patriarch Bodhi Dharma, who instructed me to return to China. The womb of the orthodox Dharma," said he, "together with the robe I inherited from Shayapa, have now been transmitted to the sixth patriarch, who is now in Sao Chi of Shaochu. Go there to have a look at them and to pay respect to the patriarch. After a long voyage, I have arrived. May I see the robe and the begging bowl you inherited?" Having shown him the two relics, the patriarch asked him what line of work he was taking up. "I am pretty good at sculptural work," replied he. "Let me see some of your work then," demanded the patriarch. Fang Pian was confounded at the time, but after a few days he was able to complete a lifelike statue of the patriarch, about 7 inches high, a masterpiece of sculpture. Upon seeing the statue, the patriarch laughed and said to Fang Pian, "You know something about the nature of sculptural work, but you do not seem to know the nature of Buddha." He then put his hand on Fang Pian's head, the Buddhist way of blessing, and declared, "You shall forever be a field of merit for human and celestial beings." In addition, the patriarch rewarded his service with a robe, which Fang Pian divided into 3 parts: one for dressing the statue, one for himself, and one for burying in the ground after covering it up with palm leaves. When the burial took place, he took a vow to the effect that by the time the robe was exhumed, he would be reincarnated as the abbot of the monastery, and also that he would undertake to renovate the shrine and the building. A bhikshu quoted the following stanza composed by Dhyana master Wu Lun. "Wu Lun has ways and means to insulate the mind from all thoughts. When circumstances do not react on the mind, the Bodhi tree will grow steadily." Hearing this, the patriarch said, "This stanza indicates that the composer of it has not yet fully realized the essence of mind. To put its teaching into practice would gain no liberation, but bind oneself more tightly." Thereupon he showed Bhikshu the following stanza of his own: "Hui-Neng has no ways and means to insulate the mind from all thoughts. Circumstances often react on my mind, and I wonder how can the Bodhi tree grow. I'm going to read that last stanza over. Hui-Neng has no ways and means to insulate the mind from all thoughts. Circumstances often react on the mind, and I wonder how can the Bodhi tree grow. All right, that completes chapter 7, and we'll continue on with chapter 8 at a later date. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Have a fun day.